Blender for Noobs.
Hello, this is Dan Nobles and welcome to Blender for Noobs and welcome back to the Omicron project, or Omicron 3 Spaceship. In this part of the tutorial, part 2, what we're going to be doing is using our reference images to start to sculpt, model this spaceship into something that looks recognizable according to the reference images. So, one thing I didn't do in the last tutorial is I need to save my file. So let's go ahead and do as file, save as. And then you can just navigate to whatever directory you think will work for your model. I've created a directory called ESC Omicron 3, and I'm just going to name this Omicron, let's call it underscore version 1. And this version, I'm going to save this Blender file. This is really just the setting up the background reference images. So I'm going to do another save as, and I'm going to call this one version 2, because we're really on the second part of the tutorial. So let's go ahead and get started. What can be more fun than taking this block, this cube that we have, and modeling it into, starting just with this cube and modeling it into something that looks hopefully pretty cool. So how do we do that? Well, I'm going to choose 7 top view. And the first thing I want to do is I want to cut this thing in half so we can use the mirror modifier. So really we only have to model one half of the ship. The other half is done for us. So I'm going to tab into edit mode, Control R, come over here and create an edge loop. Just click twice to put that edge loop right in the middle. And I'm going to choose vertex view and come over here and just click on one of those vertices. B, box select the rest of the vertices. X, delete vertices. And we are left with half of a cube. So let's go ahead and mirror it. We need to do any kind of modifier you use, you have to do in object view. So tab into object view. Come over to this panel here, your properties. Choose your modifiers, add modifier, and we're going to choose the mirror modifier, which is what we want. Now, automatically it mirrors along the X, which is what I've got it set to here. And that's exactly what we want, but I'm going to do this a slightly different way, and I'll tell you why I'm doing that. I'm going to do a Shift A and come down here to empty. I'm going to create a plane axis empty, and once that's created right here, I'm just going to bring that straight up so we can see it. Don't move it to the X or Y, but just straight up. And that puts it right in the middle of the X here. Now again, make sure you have your 3D cursor, your red and white 3D cursor right there, or otherwise this won't work correctly. Now while I still have this selected, I'm going to come over to my outliner here and come down here and double click on empty. I'm just going to rename this empty underscore mirror. Okay. Now why do I use this empty for doing the mirror modifier? Well, the reason is as you go along and you're mirroring different things on your model, it's just turns out to be a lot nicer to mirror against a reference rather than the axis itself. And it's kind of hard to explain why, but as you get into more and more of your model, it becomes more apparent on how that helps. So in order for this to work, I'm going to click back on my cube, come over here, and I'm going to choose mirror object in our mirror modifier. And I'm going to choose the empty mirror that we created. Now you can see nothing changed. It's still mirroring against the X, but it's really mirroring against this empty. So if I move this, you can see that yes, it's actually mirroring according to that empty. The other thing that we want to do is go back into our modifiers. I want to turn on clipping, and what that does is it makes sure that these vertices along the middle are stuck or clipped onto the mirror there. Otherwise, you can pull them apart like I just did, and I don't want to be able to do that. All right, now that our mirror is set up, I'm going to do a Control S quick save. We can start to create this model against any one of the reference images that we want. We're going to be pretty much using all of them, but to start out with, I think I'll start out with my 7 top view. And again, in order to see it, I can choose Z to just show the wireframe. And I'm going to choose Control up arrow so I can get a better view of what I'm doing here. Okay, a little bit of information right to start out with. These side thrusters, engines, whatever you want to call them, that is a separate object, so it's not part of this big cube. So right off the bat, we can come up here, select one of our vertices, and box select these vertices, and just move this all the way over to the side of the ship. So that's really where we're starting with the body of the ship. The other thing that is going to be an extra object is this back thing, which is really a docking port. That doesn't need to be part of the body of the ship. So box select these verts and oops, undo that, Control Z, box select all these verts here, and we're just going to bring that down to the edge there. And while we're at it, we can box select these verts here and just bring that down to the front of the ship. So it'll match our reference image just a little bit better. It's not going to match the side view probably, but that's okay. The other thing that is not part of the body of the ship is this top escape hatch, but we'll see that in the side view. Okay, so we can start to do a little bit of modeling here. So we see some lines here that needs to be in the model. So I'm going to do a Control R and create an edge loop. And I need this line right here. Go ahead and put that in there. Control R, another edge loop. We're going to need that line there. And we got 2 points here that are going to kind of cause some bends there. So Control R, oops, Control R. Come up here and we need one right about there. Control R, click on it and move it, and need one right about there. And Control R and put one right about where that line is there. And I think we probably need one where this port window or the front window is here, or front port, whatever you want to call it. But I'm going to leave it as is right now. So with those, what we can do, we can start to move these around a little bit. Click on this, and I'm box selecting this because I know there's vertices or vertex underneath that. So I want to make sure I get all of them, and I'm just going, oops, actually I need one right there as well. Control R, because that's kind of, this is a flat part back here, and then it kind of bends over. So box select that, and now I can move that down. Box select that one, move it down, and finally the outside one, move it right down to the corner there. So now I need to move this one in a little bit. So what I'm going to do is box select all these. The reason I'm selecting all these is I just want to try to keep an equal distance between them. So just move that in a little bit, and then same thing for down here. I'm going to box select all this and just kind of move that in. When I see this getting a little bit close, I can choose my C tool on the keyboard, use the middle mouse button, and deselect that one, and then move those in a little bit more. Same thing with this, C, middle mouse button, deselect, and just move these in a little bit like so. box select this one. This one needs to go in a little bit more as well, and maybe even just take all these and move them up, get them more on that line. Not a big deal. So as far as the top view, so far so good. So let's go ahead and go to Control 3, which is really our left view, and we can further refine this. So remember that our escape hatch up top is not part of the body, and our thrusters they're not part of the body either. So I'm just going to go box select all these verts, and I'm going to move it down. So we want it to hit the first line that is part of the body, and box select these verts as well. Move these up, and you can't really see the body, but I can kind of assume that it is kind of right there the way I designed it. So hopefully that will work. And just to make things a little bit easier, because like I said, these reference images are not matching, you can see this docking port thing is not where it needs to be. It needs to be outside these lines. So I'm going to choose N to get to these properties. Look at my side view, and I'm just going to bump up the size of this thing a little bit. And get more of a match here. Let's try negative 0.55. Okay, somewhere in there. So I'm going to assume that I have the top right and the bottom correct. And then now I've just moved up the image so the back of the ship and the front of the ship match a little bit better. Okay. Choose N to get out of that menu. So now we can work with the side view a little bit. We can see we've got our top here, but we have this little point here that kind of bends down. So Control R, and I'm going to put one. I know it's a little bit lower than what I had it originally, so it's right there. And then I have one right here, Control R. Actually, I have one on the back as well, so I need to represent that. So that's right back here. And then Control R, and I need this point right here where it kind of bends. And I have this in the middle, this whole line in the middle, actually. So Control R, and I'm going to put one right there. Have another point right. Actually, that's going to be a straight area right there. I'm not sure if I really need that, but I might. I'm going to do Control R, throw one right there. And I have this area right here that kind of bends, so, or have an angle. I shouldn't say bend, but has an angle right there. Okay, and I could probably use that also to catch these here, hopefully. We'll see how that works out. And then it comes down here, that's fine. And then I have kind of a bend right here, or angle right there. So I guess I'll throw another one in there, Control R, and put one right there. Okay, so now we're going to do kind of the same thing we did before. We're going to come in here and kind of clean up this. So I'll start back here. It's going to do a B box select on all these, bring them forward until it hits the edge right there. Same thing here, B box select these. So sort of like right there, come down here. This one should be okay. Take these, just move them forward like so. Take these and move these forward like so. Okay. We take these two, move those back, just so it's in line. We know that this is really the top, so I'm keeping it right there. Let's ignore all of this for the time being and come to the front. And let's pull these forward. Actually, let me undo that. Let me B-box select all these. Let's pull these forward. And this first area right here is that angle right there. And then we have this angle, so B-box select that, and we'll just bring this down. And we'll use this one as the other one, so B-box select that, move that up. Right about there. We can B-box like these and move them all the way in. And move these all the way in. And just continue on with really the outer edge of the craft is what we're doing here. So what am I missing so far? I'm not sure. I have this. Okay. And really I want to use... Actually, I think I don't need this loop here. Let me Alt select that and choose X, delete edge loop. Take that one completely out. Choose Alt select and just select this edge loop. And I'm just going to move this one over, and I'll use this one as the geometry there. I really don't need two of them there. At least I don't think I do. So now I can take and B-box select all these down here and move it there to create that little angle right there. Don't really have anything down here that is, any particular geometry, so that's okay for now. So far, so good. So now we could take all these verts and we could pull them down back to this this port window, or I guess I could call it a front windshield, whatever we call it. But this window is actually going to be a separate object. So we don't need any of this. So I'm going to choose face, and I'm just going to choose my C tool, use left button to select all these faces, and X delete faces. Okay, so if we choose Z, we can kind of see that our ship is starting to kind of come together a little bit. So we can choose one front view, go back into our Z wireframe, and let's go ahead and choose verts again, and we can further refine our ship. Now remember, in the top view we did say that this side right here is the very end of the side. We already had that figured out. So really the reference images, this front reference images is kind of steering us wrong right now. So in order to fix that, I'm just going to go back into our in, go to front, and let's just resize this a little bit. Oops, didn't want to do that. I think it was on 70. Okay. And actually need to size this up a little bit. Just wanted to get on that line there. And now we have the top and bottom not lining up quite right. So now I can pull this down. Yeah, it's not lining up at all, actually. Let's try negative 0.75. And I really don't know why my reference images aren't lining up the way that I planned them. I did them on graph paper. They line up perfectly on graph paper. But when I brought them into Photoshop and redid them, they got a little bit out of whack. Don't know why. But anyway, when you work with reference images, 9 times out of 10, they don't line up the way they should. But you end up having to kind of getting a middle ground with each view so that it matches the way it needs to. Okay, so we probably, with all the edge loops we've already put in here, we probably have plenty of geometry to work with the front view. So I'm just going to start moving these over. Just going to B-box select all these. You can see some are the front vertices, some are the rear ones. And I'm just going to move these over. When I see it getting too close to the middle, I stop, and I'm just going to C-select or deselect those. Bring these over a little bit closer. Same thing, deselect those. Bring those in and deselect those. And the reason that I'm doing that is I just want to try to keep a relative distance between, or an equidistance between these points. It's just a good way to do it. So I know the top point is really this point right here. That's why I'm bringing it all the way over there. And then I'm going to come over here, grab these. We're going to do the same thing. Bring these over. And really this point is the one right below that one, and box select these, and we'll try to just guesstimate it's right around. Actually the side is the side I had pretty much lined up on this, so let me kind of redo this a little bit. Bring these out to here and bring these out to here. Okay, and we're going to go, we'll be going back and we'll be making changes of this anyway, but we're just trying to get the rough shape set up, hopefully as it should be. Okay, so I'm going to B-box select all these, start bringing these over, deselect that one, bring them in. This looks pretty tight here, but like I said, we'll clean this up. Okay, same thing for all of these. And I'm actually looking at how these are lining up, so trying to kind of line these up just pretty much the same way I just did. That'll help us in the long run on the cleanup, hopefully. Okay, something like that. And on these front verts, I'm going to leave those as they are for right now. I'm just going to take these 3, and move these in. Deselect that one, move these in, right about there. Same thing here, just these three. And starting to come together, sort of. Let's see what it looks like. See if we made any big boo-boos. Okay, not too bad. I can see some spots that need to be straightened out, but not too bad. So this is really the overall size, or I won't say size, the overall shape of our ship, and that is basically what we want. So now in the next tutorial, what we're going to be doing is we are going to go into here and we're going to straighten out a lot of this geometry. We're going to refine the shape of the ship to be to look more like what it should look like, and you know, just basically going along correcting things as we go along. So I'll see you in part 3.